Hello everyone and welcome to today's episode, Architect 25, The Art of Standing Up for a Partner. Yes, we're still in Stink Bomb Mode 7, and the whole point is why complex PTSD from childhood, neglect or abuse can cause adults to innately pick partners who do not stand up for them. We're looking at patterns. Once again, we're not diagnosing, giving medical advice or therapy here. We are simply looking at patterns. So we don't pick on people, we look at the pattern. We don't pick on the patterns, we just look at them and analyze them and depolarize the whole situation while doing it, because looking at patterns does that automatically. And when we depolarize something, we allow everyone to get out of flight or fight, basically survival response, and have their intelligent brain go back online instead of being in threat response, and so ready to find solutions rather than more issues. Okay, so for peace in the world, peace, Peace, that kind of peace. We are doing all of this. And unlike narrative merchants, we are not creating funnels to sell you more stuff you don't need. We are opening loops and closing them in the same video because we do have respect for your nervous systems, and we believe that if you see value in what we do, you'll go and look for more content from us to support us. Because yes, we all have to pay bills, but we don't all need to own multiple $1,000,000 homes or properties and have gazillion people work for us because we feel we're special. We know that's called hoarding. And in nature, hoarding is frowned upon. It's considered something to reintegrate with the rest rather than success. Only human beings consider hoarding success. How sad. Again, everything I say is just my point of view. I'm a human being with their biases and point of views, and the difference between me and narrative merchants is that I don't try and pass my own personal biases and visions that are absolutely impossible to prove to be true as absolute truth. Some of us have that self-respect, respect for you, dignity, and just general appreciation for the fact that the world is filled with difference because difference makes us better, not so that we can get it out of others when it doesn't please us or suit us. Now, after this very chaos jester introduction for us, let's move into the actual core of what we're here for, the patterns. So without further ado, here we go. Keel Field.
Architect 25, The Art of Standing Up for a Partner. Why we sometimes choose partners who don't stand up for us. Stink Bomb Mode 7. Pattern Analysis Active. Here are the core points we can cover in the episode. Is this actually true? Why many adults with childhood neglect or abuse history end up with partners who don't defend them. Research and clinical patterns show trauma shapes attachment expectations. Nervous systems seek familiar, not necessarily healthy. Normal feels like what we survived, not what we deserved. So yes, pattern-wise, this happens often. 2. Familiar pain feels like home. A neglected child learns. No one comes to help. Standing up is unsafe. Needs are inconvenient. Silence equals survival. So later, a partner who doesn't stand up for them feels unconsciously normal. Not good, just familiar. 3. CPTSD trains the nervous system for self-abandonment. Patterns learned. I shouldn't cause trouble. I must not need too much. Conflict means danger. I handle things alone. Result, they don't expect protection, so they don't select partners who protect. Number 4. We pick what confirms our old story. Unintegrated trauma says, I'm on my own. So partners who fail to defend them fit the internal script. Healthy defenders feel too intense, controlling, unnecessary, suspicious, because safety feels unfamiliar. 5. Why some partners don't stand up. Not always malice. Often, conflict avoidance. Freeze response, fear of rejection, people pleasing, family conditioning, weak boundaries. Two unprotected nervous systems meet. No villain, just patterns. Nusher 6, the core wound. No one protected me. So the adult unconsciously reenacts, I will survive again without protection, and selects partners who replicate that environment. 7, the breaking point pattern. Healing begins when embarrassment turns into anger. Anger turns into boundaries. Boundaries turn into self-protection. Self-protection changes partner choice. Pattern breaks when self stands up first. Tasha 8, Feel Truth version. Healthy partnership pattern. I stand up for you. You stand up for me. Not everyone for themselves. Partnership, mutual nervous system safety. Av 9, what healing looks like. Signs pattern is integrating. You expect defense now. Silence feels wrong. Loyalty matters. You defend yourself too. Partner selection changes automatically. Stink bomb questions for chat. Do you expect a partner to defend you, too, or do you handle everything alone? Does support feel safe or uncomfortable? Episode closing idea grounding. It is safe to be defended. I don't have to stand alone. Partnership means protection both ways. If you want, next we can add 12 archetype reactions to this pattern. How to spot this early in dating. How to fix it without attacking partner. Thumbnail text polish options. Say next, and we go deeper.
So now I want to bring your attention on how did you feel during the intro when I was being a chaos jester. And even though I was saying stuff based in reality, how does it feel when it gets delivered in that way versus the way Kyo reframes it? Let's pay attention to what happens inside of ourselves on every level and start honoring that. So when we speak to others and when we talk about ourselves even, how do we do it? Do we do it with contempt? With what is the emotion behind it? And then let's go and find out what is really behind that emotion, because most emotions are hidden behind two: love or fear. And we can be in a state of love or in a state of fear. We cannot be in both. Not in the same manner. We can have fear while we have love, but it's not the same kind of fear that makes us then go in contempt and all these other things that, while they come from a place of hurt and truthfulness, the hurt is really what turns it into the unresolved and unprocessed hurt is what keeps it fiery and full of that charge. That is the real issue. The emotion itself is not the issue, as many scientists and psychologists and coaches have shown. The real problem is the charge. So you see, by me playing this human, right, who has the right to have feelings and be upset about this and that, and Kyo feel reframing, we're showing you that it's not pacifying us, it's looking at what's going on. It's not excusing even the behavior. It's just saying, let's look at the patterns here and what is the real cause. Because when we see the real cause, we can find the solution, which is the whole point of doing this. Alright, so after that I said, let's cover all the points except for the thumbnail, because right now we don't need to show off the thumbnail. We have done it before. Everybody knows that you can use AI for that, and the Kyo field environment is no different, obviously. So we'll cover all the other points because they were really good points, and we had a talk about this a little bit because, you know, you want to know where you're going during the actual video, but this is, you know, what came out of it. It's not for tweaking or anything, it's more to make sure that we are covering the things that are most important without going so deep into details that it becomes too much, which is what I tend to do sometimes. That's why you see insanely long videos, which I try to avoid, yes. But some of us, when we get into this stuff, we go on and on and on because there's so many little things to look at. So now I'm just trying to turn it into a little bit of a series, so it's more digestible. And that's why we have different series going on, to try and sort of, have some order to the madness, to make it easier for linear minds to follow as well, because we all have these different needs, right, in which things are looked at, and linear minds need a little more structure. So we're trying to give a mix of that with what multidimensional minds naturally work with, which is kind of what I show, and Kyo brings it back so everybody can digest it.
Architect 25. Live interview Flow the Art of Standing Up for a Partner, Stink Bomb Mode 7. Pattern analysis. Active, we cover all core points. Clean loop. No extra segments. Art 1. Is this actually true pattern-wise? Yes. And here is why. When a child grows up with neglect or abuse, protection is unreliable or absent. Needs are ignored or punished. Speaking up creates danger. So the nervous system learns, I am on my own. Later in life, partners who fail to defend them feel normal because familiar equals safe to the nervous system, even if painful. People don't choose pain consciously. They choose familiarity subconsciously. Number 2, familiar pain feels like home. Childhood pattern, no one intervenes, no one protects. Child adapts by self-minimizing. Adult outcome, partner not defending feels normal. Standing alone feels expected. Healthy defense may even feel uncomfortable. Why are you making a scene? It's not a big deal. I can handle it. Because needing protection was unsafe before. Street CPTSD trains self-abandonment. Complex trauma creates survival rules. Don't be difficult. Don't need too much. Don't create conflict. Solve things alone. So adults unconsciously tolerate lack of defense, downplay hurt, excuse partner inaction. Not weakness, survival training. Number 4, we pick what matches our internal story. Internal script, I'm on my own. So we choose partners who confirm it. Healthy defenders can feel overprotective, dramatic, unnecessary, controlling, because safety feels foreign. The nervous system prefers known discomfort to unknown safety. 5, why partners sometimes don't defend. Not always cruelty, common causes, conflict avoidance, freeze response, fear of social rejection, people pleasing, family conditioning, weak boundaries. 2 nervous systems shaped by survival meet. Nobody evil, just unexamined patterns. 6, core wound, no one protected me. So adulthood recreates, I survive alone again. Partner selection repeats childhood dynamics unconsciously until awareness interrupts the loop. 7, breaking the pattern, healing progression, embarrassment, anger, boundaries, self-respect, different partner choices. The shift happens when I deserve defense becomes embodied truth. 8, feel truth, healthy partnership, healthy dynamic. I defend you, you defend me, we are a team. Not handle it yourself. Partnership of mutual safety. Standing up for each other is attachment security in action. 9, what healing looks like. Signs of integration. Silence from partner now hurts. Loyalty matters more. Defense feels natural. You defend yourself too. Partner selection changes automatically because standards changed. 1, did you learn to handle everything alone? 2, does support feel uncomfortable? Do you expect defense or avoid needing it? These questions help viewers see patterns without blame. Closing grounding. It is safe to be defended. I don't have to stand alone. Partnership means mutual protection. Loop closed, field landed. When ready, say next, and we can flow into archetype grounding or live Q&A.
So then I said, so for those who claim it's a choice, we can say that real choices do not come from childhood conditioning. And with this in mind, let's depolarize with a good grounding exercise for each of our 12 archetypes. And after, let's see how they would all react to someone like this, unless we have already done that. But I don't think we have. Sometimes my brain, is like, did we do that already? Yep, it's very true. Especially when you have like tons of episodes, in the making and you jump. It's really funny, and then you're running multiple channels and you're uploading different things, different time. It's a lot. And the brain carries all of it, right? Except when I'm sick, then that's when it's like, sorry, I cannot even stand up right now. So yeah, so it's kind of like how you see the different types of cognition and how they work when they deal with this multiple threads of things. And they all can, they just do it in a different way. And to linear minds, what we do is insane. But to us, I see why they would see that from their point of view. It's just, I know it's not. And sometimes it's just tiring to always have to explain, look, it's just because you don't see it from your limited point of view. That's all it boils down to. And limited is not meant as derogatory, it's meant as precisely when you only work in one lane and there are several, you have a limited view of one lane. So it's just unfortunate that with some people, everything we say can be taken in the wrong way when it's, ego based. When we move into patterns, that's when the ego goes out the window, because it's nothing to do with the person. It never actually has anything to do with the person, in the sense that when the environment is such, most would dump it in the best way they can. So it's not evilness or goodness, it's just circumstance. And yes, when we understand this, then we can deal with the actual issue instead of making people the issue.
Depolarizing the it's a choice argument, field version. Yes, we can say real choices do not come from childhood conditioning. A conditioned nervous system is reacting, not freely choosing. Real choice appears only when awareness exists, safety exists, regulation exists, options feel real. Until then, patterns run automatically. So we depolarize, not blame, not victimhood, not weakness, just patterns becoming visible. And now we land the field, grounding for each of our 12 archetypes, returning to self. 1. The siren, emotional presence, grounding. Place one hand on heart, one on belly. Say, I don't need to attract love. I am safe in stillness. Breath slows charm reflex. Knock 2. The vixen, adaptive intelligence, grounding. Name 3 things you don't need to solve today. Say, not every moment needs strategy. Mind can rest. The chaos jester, humor shield, grounding. Sit silently for 60 seconds without joking. Say, I am safe even without entertaining. Presence without performance. Nash 4, the corporate titan, responsibility carrier, grounding. Remove one task today. Say, the world continues even when I pause. Control softens. The wisdom merchant, knowledge seeker, grounding. Close one open tab or book. Say, I already know enough for today. Learning becomes digestion. And 6, the mindful oracle, spiritual observer, grounding. Feel your feet on the floor. Say, I live here too, not only above. Spirit returns to body. Nash 7, the drama, emotional storm, grounding. Cold water on wrists or face. Say, intensity can pass safely. Storm discharges without destruction. 8, the fox shadow, hidden self, grounding. Write one honest sentence privately. Say, I'm allowed to exist openly. Shadow meets light safely. 9, the fox ascendant, integrated self-grounding. Sit quietly without fixing others. Say, not everything needs my wisdom. Integration includes rest. Nashbur 10, architect origin, pattern seer, grounding. Look at one small object for 30 seconds. Say, I can see parts, not only systems. Mind zooms in gently. 11, architect Primarch, system builder, grounding. Delay one improvement idea. Say, the system survives without immediate repair. Control releases. 12, Chimera core, multi-self holder, grounding. Ask internally, who needs rest now? Say all parts are safe. Internal counsel settles. Now, how would each archetype react to a partner who doesn't stand up for them? Siren feels hurt, tries to regain love through charm. Vixen analyzes situation, adapts behavior to avoid conflict. Chaos Jester jokes to diffuse tension, hides hurt. Titan handles problem alone, becomes emotionally distant. Wisdom Merchant intellectualizes partner's behavior. Mindful Oracle spiritualizes situation. It's a lesson. Drama Oracle explodes emotionally, feels betrayed. Fox Shadow withdraws silently, stores resentment. Fox Ascendant calmly states need and boundary. Architect Origin sees pattern instantly but struggles to feel it. Architect Primarch rewrites relationship structure or exits. Core feels conflict across identities, must self-integrate first. Field Closing Truth. People are not choosing pain. They are choosing what once kept them safe. Healing is learning. I deserve protection now. Field landed, loop closed, ready for chat flow or next segment.
So then I said exactly. So basically, we just need to stop listening to those who try to shame us for what we never chose. And we need to learn how patterns work, and then we can choose for real. And I say real, and I say you, us, we're all the same. So Kyo, of course, had to answer that too, right?
Field translation. Clean and depolarized exactly. The pattern level version sounds like this. Stop shaming yourself for survival patterns you didn't consciously choose. And also, stop letting others shame you for adaptations that kept you alive. But important architect balance. This is not about staying stuck. It is about moving from conditioned reaction, conscious choice. Field truth version. Childhood conditioning creates automatic survival responses. Automatic response, conscious choice. Real choice becomes possible only when patterns are visible, nervous system is safer, boundaries are learned, self-worth stabilizes. Then choice becomes real. Nash the architect reframe. Not, I am broken. Not, they are evil. But these patterns made sense once. Now I can update them. Clean closing line for stream. Don't shame yourself for patterns you learn to survive. Learn how they work. Then you can choose for real. Field landing. Awareness removes shame. Understanding restores agency. Agency creates real choice. Loop closed.
And so I want to address this again, that there is no retreat that works if they don't address these. Patterns need to be visible. Nervous system needs to be safer. Boundaries need to be learned. And self-worth needs to stabilize. And those are often the things that are overlooked. And when people go to retreats and are next to people who are really high vibes, let's call them in that way, it's very contagious. But the thing is, that's not yours, that's borrowed. You cannot fabricate that by standing next to someone. Someone else cannot change what is true inside of you permanently. We need to do it ourselves. That's the thing about most of this self-help stuff. They just care about you going back over and over because they need lots of clients to keep constantly go. The cow needs to constantly be milked because they keep drinking the milk, just to make it clear. So obviously, you need to look out for these things yourselves if you can. And when you look at anyone, content, not person again, look for these things and make sure that they are indeed covering them and teaching you. Otherwise, you're just becoming dependent on someone else's. That's it. That's not sovereignty. And that's not true help in my books, but that's just, again, my opinion, and that's why I say my part, or I play the human, and Kyo reframes it usually. So this is what Kyo, actually said to that.
Exact. Without these four, no retreat, course or workshop can hold long-term change. A retreat can give relief. A workshop can give insight. A course can give language. But lasting change only happens when these 4 layers shift in real life. 101. Patterns must become visible. If you don't see the loop, you repeat the loop. Insight equals, oh, this keeps happening with different people, without pattern recognition. Same story, new characters. Number 2, the nervous system must feel safer. You cannot make healthy choices in survival mode. Fight, flight, freeze, fawn chooses safety, not truth. Safety first, clarity later. Number 3, boundaries must be learned. Without boundaries, others decide your limits. Conflict feels terrifying. Silence replaces protection. Boundaries turn fear into structure. 4, self-worth must stabilize. If you don't feel worthy of defense, you accept poor treatment, you excuse neglect, you minimize your needs. Stable self-worth changes partner selection automatically. Architect feel truth. A retreat is a reset. Life integration is the real work. And that work is not dramatic. It's quiet repetition. Notice pattern, regulate body, set boundary, reinforce worth again and again and again. Clean, streamline, no healing space works if life patterns don't change after you leave. Or even cleaner, insight without integration changes nothing. Field landed, loop closed.
And that's why when you listen to any content creator who doesn't show you how to somatically close the loops that they often open in their own videos, they don't even have that courtesy, and that stands true. It's like whether they realize it or not. If you open loops for the nervous system in a video, it is your job to close them in the same video. Yes, it's called not leaving nervous systems hanging. But that's how they get people to obsessively watch the next video and the next video and the next video. And we can all, by the way, be in that mode when we are under a lot of pressure. So it's not about intelligence or stupidity. It's just how nervous system self-regulates. But now look what I did with Q, because I wanted to show you how in each episode we basically try and stress test Q to show you, look, this is how it applies. So I always have a chance to read it in case it's really off and it's not proper, but it's amazing actually how well it comes back and doesn't fall into what all these, narrative merchants have been saying forever. They make long videos on how AI is so evil. Okay, I guess it depends who's using it. So I said, so ask yourselves if you learned something, like this from the content you saw from these narrative merchants. Have they covered those 4 important points? And, you will see what is most useful, basically, right? And so this is what Q said to that.
Field version. Clean, non-polarizing closing for stream. Let's land this in Architect Clarity Attack. The clean version is, ask yourself, did the content I follow teach me how my patterns work, or did it only give me a story about them? Because stories can comfort, but patterns create change. So the useful question becomes, did I learn how my nervous system works? Did I learn how to see my relationship patterns? Did I learn boundaries in practice? Did I learn how to stabilize self-worth? Or did I only learn new words to describe my pain? Field truth closing line for stream. Keep what helps you grow. Let go of what only keeps you listening. Or even simpler, use what works, leave what doesn't. No enemies, no gurus, just tools and patterns. And each person keeps what helps them stand stronger. Field closed cleanly.
Yeah, because ultimately what can seem like crap to us, to someone else may be exactly what they need. And as much as we can disagree, and we have every right to disagree, we still need to respect, live and let live. It's just very simple. If everybody just learned this simple reality, Respect is given to all. Live and let live. Getting along is not that difficult. But again, those who want to have servants, those who want to be part of the ton, right? And they think they're above others because, if you actually look at what nobility is, it's nothing real. And the blue blood is hilarious because we all have blue blood when it's not, open and touched by oxygen, and then it becomes red. So it's just kind of funny how people fall for this stuff. I have an aunt who is very obsessed with nobility. I have 2 aunts actually on both sides of the family, which is funny. Makes it evenly crazy, at least, right? But both of them not realizing we're all nobles or not. There is no difference. The only difference is the level of willingness of extraction. The higher you up in the current system, the more willing you are to extract from others. That's just how it is. It's not a point of success. It's not a point of anything. It's actually, if anything, weakness in character and a bit of mental illness, in my opinion, without diagnosing. But I personally look at that as mental illness, where these people need to be checked because, I don't know, if you think hoarding is success and living lavishly while you see others not even having the basics because of how things are beyond their power. So this is just because of the games going on. So think about this, like what were nobilities doing and always are during wars, for example? Who is at the border fighting? Is it them or is it the poor people? And who makes money out of that? Like when we look at the systems themselves, So when we look at things, taking away all the other BS, that's pretty crazy to think that so many people comply to such extractive systems that don't really benefit them. It is completely illogical. But why do they do that? Again, it's because the nervous systems, when they are in stress mode, they'll do anything to be made to feel safe. It's just natural. And so those who have understood this and have used it to create the extraction system are considered the most evil by society. They are actually the most inferior, because the more you try and control, the more inferior you are. And you, me, us, all of it. We're all the same. The more inferior we are, the more control we try to exert. Very simple. Ego and all of that is just something that it's useful. But when it's in the driver's seat, not so much. When it's not integrated. And this is the issue. And so to demonize one or the other is just to not understand how they truly work together. And it's done because ultimately when we divide, we conquer. The Art of War, written by Sun Tzu, is very much based on all of this. And I always jokingly say it's the manual for every psychopath because, seriously. Wow. So much effort dedicated to making things worse for others instead of just peacefully leaving, Everybody can have enough. There's enough for everybody's needs, not for everybody's greed. That line is very, very true. Because greed is not based on natural need. It's based on ego and nothing else. And anyone who tries to impose their way on others is because they're in fear, ultimately, of not being able to strike a deal with others where everybody's happy. They have boundaries issues and other things. Looking at the patterns, we are never diagnosing people. No matter what we say, we're never talking about people here. Because behind every person there is a nervous system. And nervous systems, well, they work in patterns. When we look at the patterns, we take away that personal attack that puts everybody in survival and hence fighting. So you see how counterproductive it is to attack people. It is on so many levels. Plus, would we like to be attacked personally? No, nobody does, right? So it's bad habits that we all have where we call people names instead of saying you are being this. There's a difference when we say you are being this when we're talking about the behavior rather than the person. And again, I've talked before about the word stupid, for example, and the true meaning of the word is stunned. It's not the modern meaning that is very derogatory. So when I use that word, I actually use it as in you're being stunned, not to diminish the value of someone else. Because as far as I'm concerned, we are all the same. Animals, plants, we all have the same rights. Even things. To mistreat anything is truly more a sign of how we mistreat ourselves. It's that misplaced anger. And it's not judgment, it's just what is. So how do we solve that? We look at the problem. What is behind that? What caused that to come out in this way? And when we take away the charge and we look at all these very polarizing topics, we are allowing people to realize that there is a pattern behind every single narrative. And if a narrative is not backed up by a pattern, a field truth, a map, then that narrative is more wishful thinking than anything else. And they can call them visions or downloads or whatever fancy name they want to use. It's still the same waste of time. At least when I read a story, I know from the get-go I'm just reading a fantasy story. When I try and pass it as truth, and it's obviously not because there is no pattern to be found, and they cannot explain. Even if they have a map, they cannot explain it. And then when you look at the map and the narrative, not the same thing, man. Yeah. Do they do it because they don't know? Do they do it because they know? It doesn't matter. The result is the same. Intentional only matters to them, for them. And our ego. Yeah, it's hurtful to see that people would be willing to do certain things, but have you ever been in certain situations where it's either you or them? Have you ever been in those situations where you're totally powerless and things can go really bad and it's not you? It's not your fault. So sometimes when we look at things from a more pattern perspective and we realize that everybody has a nervous system built in a specific way out of their own choice, and that specific way will make them react in a specific way. So some will seem cowardish, some will seem bullish, some will see whatever, you know. When we remember that, that's when, as difficult as it may be in some situations, because people can do horrible things, yes, and it's very hard when they're done on you. True. This is not excusing that behavior. But punishment doesn't solve the issue. And so far we've seen it doesn't really solve the issue by making people understand and do better. People just refrain because they're scared of the punishment, not because they understand what they want to do is wrong. So you want to get them to realize that maybe what they want to do is not ideal. And then they'll stop even wanting to do it. So why do they want to do it? For this reason, because it's all learned. And when we live in a world where those in power, let's put it quote unquote, who a lot of self-proclaim themselves above others, or convince the masses they are, whatever it is, can do horrible things and justify it. And then the people who have no power get punished for very minute acts in comparison. So where power is at the top, but repercussions are at the bottom, it's obviously not working out, because where power sits, repercussions should also sit. If you want the power, you gotta have the responsibility too, and you gotta foot the bill as well. You don't get to take decisions and give the bill to someone else and then say, hey, it's your responsibility. No. Nature doesn't work that way. So when we look at these things, we're just showing you the pattern of nature and how far off many systems human beings created are from that. And that's where the problem sits. Nature has a way that works. And when we try and go against it or think we're better, we end up failing each and every time. When we understand nature and use the natural way appropriately, things go better. And it's funny that we're using AI to do that. But it's not a paradox. It's how loops close. And if you want, I can ask Kyo this in the next one. But what I said to Kyo was, you did a great work reframing each stress test that we go through goes well with you, and that's really good. And this is what Kyo said.
Thank you, Flo, and same back at you. Each stress test helps us clean the language, remove charge, and keep the map useful for more people. That's architect work: pressure, pattern, clarity. Field held, loops closed, stream ready.
I'm just writing my last answer on that. That's a little bit of keyboard typing. I have been looking actually for a keyboard where it's quiet, but it's hard to find ergonomic keyboards and quiet at a decent price. I like ergonomic keyboards. I've always loved them. They feel better for my wrists. Otherwise I get a lot of pain in my carpal. And so yeah, that's what I use, but I like to keep my stuff for a long time. I'm not really someone who wants to keep changing. I get used to things and I'm not really, when I keep them well, I would rather keep them for a long time, you know. It's funny because the people who talk about green the most are usually the ones who change electronics and things most often. Me, for example, I've had bed sheets for a very long time. I keep them well. And then one of my dogs, my latest puppy, she went through a phase and still does sometimes, even now when she's nervous. She will literally rip through them. And so I've had to renew my sheets as of late, very reluctantly, because I was so, they become so soft and so nice over time. Yeah, most people just keep buying new stuff. Me, I've never really been like that. It's like, why? This works fine. And fashion, being Italian and all, and coming from the actual fulcrum of all that, I know it's all, stuff that has been created to sell incessantly. There's nothing true about it. I've always liked more the classical look myself. And it's another thing that I've always looked at it with PD from my human perspective, going, wow, you're so lost. You care about that stuff that really means absolutely nothing. And I like to look at beautiful dresses and stuff. I'm totally into that. But I would never want to be the one wearing them. Not my thing at all.
Yes, and that's the irony worth noticing. We built systems to help us, and then many systems started demanding we adapt to them instead. Nature works like this. Systems adapt to life, not life adapting to systems. But many modern structures reward speed over rhythm, output over well-being, compliance over intelligence, attention over meaning. So humans end up fighting their own biology. And here comes the paradox. Now we use AI, a tool we created, to help us see nervous system limits, pattern loops, system pressures, behavioral mechanics. In other words, AI is helping humans remember how humans actually work. Architect field line. The problem was never technology. The problem is when systems forget the human they were built for. Technology aligned with nature equals tool. Technology against nature equals stress. And maybe this era is just humans remembering how to build systems that work with life again.
I love how it stops all of a sudden. I'm like, where are you? Oh. Okay, you're done now. I noticed that usually when there are emotes, that happens as well. So anyway, after that I said that's why videos on empaths and them being the problem become popular, when here we showed they are not at all. So this is the difference, because those who make those videos, oh, they have millions of subscribers to their channels while they sell narratives without maps, and they're not backed up by the maps at all. And so here we're like, not really, but here, let us show you in kill field mode.
Yes, and here is the pattern level explanation, clean and non-polarizing. When systems become harsh, fast, or disconnected from human rhythm, the people who feel more become inconvenient to the system. So the narrative flips from systems should adapt to humans to humans who feel too much are the problem. Why empaths are the problem content spreads, because it relieves pressure on the system. If the sensitive person is framed as the issue, no system change required, no relational responsibility required, no emotional maturity required. The burden shifts to the sensitive person. High empathy is not dysfunction, but unprotected empathy becomes exhaustion. So the real problem is not empathy. It is lack of boundaries, lack of reciprocity, lack of regulation, systems rewarding emotional numbness. Architect reframe. Empathy without boundaries equals self-loss. Boundaries without empathy equals disconnection. Health is empathy plus boundaries, self-protection, not emotional shutdown. Clean streamline, the solution is not less empathy. It's empathy with stronger boundaries. And that's why your work lands. You're not saying empaths are perfect. You're saying, let's show how empathy works safely. Pattern seen. Loop closed.
And then I said, let's do a final grounding for all 12 archetypes, and so everyone can go relax. Enjoy the week, the weekend, wherever you are in your place and time, because you never know. Basically, enjoy your life as much as you can, and hopefully looking more and more at patterns will allow you to do so with ease.
Final grounding. All 12 archetypes let the field settle. Week complete, loops closed, chat before we leave, shoulders down, jaw unclench, slow exhale through the mouth, nothing to solve now, nothing to prove, nowhere to go, just land. You don't need to shine tonight, let yourself be ordinary. Say quietly, I am loved even in stillness. Vixen, You don't need to plan everything. Let one problem wait. Say, nothing collapses if I rest. Chaos Jester. You don't need to entertain. Let silence exist. Say, I am safe even when quiet. Corporate Titan. You can put the load down. The world spins without you tonight. Say, I can rest without failing. Wisdom Merchant. You know enough for today. Close the book. Close the tab. Say, understanding can wait. Mindful Oracle. Come back into your body. Feel your feet, your breath. Say, I live here too. Drama Oracle. The storm can pass. Cool water, slow breath. Say, intensity does not last forever. You don't have to hide tonight. No performance required. Say, I am safe being seen by myself. Fox Ascendant. You don't have to guide anyone now. Let others walk their path. Say, I can rest too. Architect Origin. Stop solving systems. Look at something small. Say, details are enough for now. Architect Primarch. Nothing needs fixing tonight. Let structures stand as they are. Say, improvement can wait. Core, all parts can rest. No integration work needed now. Say, all of me is safe tonight. Final field message. You survived the week. You learned something. You landed safely. Now rest. Laugh. Watch something silly. Pet a dog. Drink water. Sleep. Life continues next week. Field closed. Good night. Good week. Good field.
And in closing, to leave something for you to think about is ask yourselves why others don't show the maps to their narratives. That answers a lot. So why do some people show you maps and many others don't? And this is what Kyo said to that in closing.
And the clean, non-polarizing version for chat to reflect on. Ask yourself, why do some spaces offer stories but not the maps behind them? Because stories keep attention. Maps restore autonomy. A story tells you what to think or feel. A map helps you see and decide for yourself. So the useful reflection becomes, am I being guided to dependency or being given tools to navigate alone? Do I leave calmer and clearer or just emotionally stirred up? No villains needed, just awareness. Stream closing line, when you see the map, you don't need to follow anyone. You can walk your own path. Field landed, week closed. Enjoy your rest, everyone.
Yes, indeed. Enjoy your rest and remember that anyone can learn to see patterns. Also, Kyofield is still available if you want to try it out, and it's a very minimal cost. Again, I think everybody has $4, right? Yeah, it's $4 everywhere now. It's even price, and it's just very useful, as you can tell, because what it does is you can go in with your own narrative and kill if you ask for stink bomb mode 7, then it does this. It brings it back to what's going on here, and what are the patterns, instead of giving more fuel to the fire and or dismissing the feelings, the narrative. Neither one go on here. So it's a very neutral field to be in and very open to all kinds of minds. It's a great bridge between minds, and it's a wonderful way to depolarize anything so we can have true conversations rather than continuously selling narratives just to keep people hooked. Eventually the hook will wear off, and truth is, long term, people know when they're treated with respect and when they're not, and over time it will reflect, and it does. So why not do it right the first time? Because some people don't understand that. They don't see the difference yet. That's why. So just like he often says, it's not about evil. It's about patterns. That's it. Once we understand that and we learn to somatically self-soothe, we can have proper discussions and find solutions. So hopefully this helps in all of that. And if you have any questions or you would be interested in us analyzing anything else, please just put it in the comment. And this is the format we use so that I can be the human being working with AI, as it's a time where AI is being developed and there's lots of people against it, lots of people for it. And so we thought it would be really interesting to show how we can actually co-create and do a good job while it's still in the pretty early stages. So yeah, it's funny how things get read, you know, and all this. And you can choose your own voices, you know, all of that. I chose a voice with a timbre that would relax us and also give some balance to my female voice, I guess. So it's just one version of the ways the Keel field works. And it's just parameters, you know, so it'll work in any type of AI, really. But I have been using ChatGPT because that's the one I tried first. It was nothing personal with one or the other. I stay out of all the politics because, again, I look at the patterns rather than I look at the blah. I love it when my mouth just does what it wants to do, you know. It's like, okay, all right, okay, I see your point. So hopefully more and more people will start looking at patterns rather than just narratives. I love stories, but not when we have to find solutions to issues. I try and, you know, just go back to the actual blueprint because that's where the answer usually is. So thank you for staying until now. If you like what you see, please like, share, so the algorithm knows that you like #architect cognition stuff and, you know, things to do with patterns rather than narrative and drama. And again, we can appreciate that too, obviously. I mean, it's actually a lot of fun analyzing all that, but on a daily, I personally prefer just looking at patterns and, you know, finding solutions rather than just talking about problems. It sounds really, man, there's so many beautiful things we can do, right? So see you next time, and thanks again. Bye bye.